All right, everybody, welcome back to Skywatchers Radio, right here on the Dark Matter Radio Network, and, of course, PSN Radio. Now, before we go live with our guest, I want to give a very special shout-out to the person who put this together, Mr. Derek Fargo, who is the publicist for the lovely guest that we have on tonight. And he really was, let me tell you, he was top-notch, really, really professional, and love working with him. So anybody out there who wants to get you guys on, please contact Derek Fargo. And now, without further ado, we're going to have an hour and a half of a lot of interesting conversation with our guests, Mr. Jeremiah and Miss Alder. Welcome to the show, Skywatchers Radio. Welcome, guys.
Hello.
Hey, how are you today?
Now, like we said in the beginning of the show here, you guys are known for the documentary Time Travel Zero, and now you've just you're about to finish up a documentary called Shapeshifting Movie, or Do You Shift? Right, that's the name of the movie. Do You Shift?
Yep. Yeah.
All right. Before we go and talk about that movie, because I gave out the link, by the way, on YouTube, so everybody could check out the trailer that just came out online, what, like 5, 6, 8 hours ago, something like that, 10 hours ago? How long ago was it?
4, 5 hours ago.
5 hours. I was very close. Just 5 hours ago, this came out, and I gave out the link earlier. I hope everybody who's listening in went and checked it out. It looks really interesting, but before we get to that movie, I want to touch on the first movie you two released. And, of course, you guys are filmmakers, directors, actors, producers. I mean, you two do it all, both of you. And you're out in Seattle, by the way, again. Shout-outs to my good folks in Seattle. But, tell us about this movie, Time Travel Zero, because I'm very interested in the John Titor story. And for anybody listening in on Dark Matter right now, John Titor, this whole started back in 98, 2000, around there, like we said earlier on the show. John Titor is somebody who is very famous in the Art Bell community, because it really all started on Art Bell's website, his old website. And tell us what got you guys interested in doing a documentary about that particular person.
Well, actually, it started out, I was working at a large aerospace company at the time, and I was filmmaking on the side and acting. Mm-hmm. And I was a lead of a group, and I was walking around, and one of the team members in my group, he was looking at something on the computer, and he put it down really quick. And then, of course, that piques my interest. I'm like, what were you looking at? And he's like, oh, there's just something, you're not interested in this. You would never be interested. And when he said that, I was like, oh, I have to know what it is. So I finally got it out of him. He gave me the website, and it was the johntitor.com one. And I looked at it that night, and I couldn't stop. I stayed up the entire night reading it. And it was about John, and we call him John Titor, but he came back from the year 2036 into the year 2000 and started posting on message boards that he had time traveled. And a lot of the stuff, I'm in manufacturing engineering at the time and computer science, and it was really fascinating to me. Like, I was looking up all these different formulas, trying to debunk them. And that started my whole journey, like my spiritual journey, my journey of realizing that other things are possible. And that, and so there was a filmmaker that I had worked with before and called me up, and he's like, I have an idea to do this film about John Titor. And I'm like, I'm in. It was just like that. And he had called me before with pitching me a number of things. And we were 100% in, and it was just a wild ride.
And let me stop you right there, Alder. You said you tried to debunk the John Titor story. How did you try to debunk it? Like, what exactly were you looking for to try to see if you could debunk it?
Well, for me, I was just trying to look up different formulas in my own rudimentary way and try to figure out if they worked. And it was about particle acceleration and a ton of things at the time that fascinated me, and more about energy and how energy works. And I was asking people around, there were some people I call at that company at the time, I call them Jedis, because they know everything about everything. They just sit there and they can tell you all sorts of things having to do with physics and how
they were into remote
how
viewing.
they're manufactured. And I couldn't get them. They were like, "Wow, this is interesting. This guy's very interesting."
Oh, you said you call them Jedis. Are they into remote viewing at all? Because there's a movie called Men Who Stare at Goats. I don't know if you're familiar with it. And it's about remote viewing. It's about an actual government-sanctioned project that took place a long, long time ago. Not in a galaxy far, far away.
Yeah, that was the George Clooney movie, right?
Right, with Ewan McGregor, the other Jedi, by the way. And in the movie, they call themselves Jedis.
Yeah, but it stood for something. There was an
right. There was an acronym, yeah. But still, it was funny. They were called Jedis. But are these folks remote viewers also that we're talking about here?
Coincidentally, yes. I made up the name myself in describing them, but after I got to know some of these people, yes, they're into remote viewing. And right after studying about John Titor, I started to get into remote viewing. That was the next thing, trying it myself, and it works.
So what's the correlation between remote viewing and shifting? Because I'm sure there's some sort of connection there.
I'm probably jumping way ahead, but
okay, we can get back to it later. It's okay,
Yeah, we're going to start off on the time travel Titor story there, Alan.
I feel that time travel. I'll give you a little hint. I feel that time travel is completely possible, and I think our bodies have a lot to do with it. We're the time travel machine.
That's interesting. I've heard a lot of people talk about time traveling being done with the mind, and really that's how astral projection obviously would work. It's something with your mind. You can astral travel, and if you could astral project, you could time travel, basically. Is that kind of where your I guess findings led you to, something like that?
Well, yeah, astral projection is one form of it, and I work on that as well, and I think that it's kind of like astral projection and lucid dreaming, that you're able to achieve consciousness while in the dream state. But there's also another thing where when you're completely conscious, you can take, and you're kind of in a meditative state, which is a different state than the dream state, that you can actually take probability and turn it into possibility. That's the best way I can describe it, meaning that everything is possible in all time and space. You're able to access it, and so you're able to as you say.
What we need, Alan, is a probability drive.
Oh yes. By the way, thanks for all the fish.
Yes.
If no one else gets that joke, you have to watch Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy or read
it.
Galaxy. So glad you said that.
Classic movie. I love that film, by the way. That's interesting. The John Titor story, go back to this whole thing with John Titor. What's so amazing is isn't there like I don't know if you guys covered this in the documentary, because I haven't seen it. Shame on me yet, by the way. I haven't seen this documentary, which I will see very soon. Alan, stop snorting coke on the air, man. That's not cool.
I'm not snoring coke. I just had a heavy sigh.
Okay. But anyway, going back to the John Titor thing. There's a kid who's come forward. I don't know, again, if you've covered this, or he didn't come forward, but there's supposedly a kid who is named John Titor who are being looked forward. He's in Miami. It's not me, folks. I'm in Miami, but it's not me. But there's a kid down here.
Florida. He's in Florida. I can't remember if he was in Miami for sure. I
think it's more Central Florida, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think it's Miami.
But funny as it is, doesn't the John Titor story talk about him being in Florida and actually in the Tampa area?
Right.
Yeah. Well, he basically claimed that he came back and stayed with his family, and there is a kid, John Titor, and the Titor family that.
Now, did you guys cover this in the documentary, by the way? Not to cut you off, but did you cover this whole part with the kid in the documentary? Because this is very interesting to me. People are looking after this kid, right?
Towards the end, so you're gonna have to watch it.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
No spoilers, folks. No spoilers, folks. No spoilers. All right,
I cannot give anything away. It's like if you literally mentioned one thing about the movie and it just completely spoils the entire thing. So.
Okay, good. So no spoilers. I do want to see this thing. So now this kid, people are looking after him, right? I mean, people are kind of like concerned for his life. Do you think?
Yeah, people are kind of like. It's one of those things where people are kind of like waiting and seeing, because when I first was introduced to John Titor, when Alder said, "Hey, look, I want to do this movie with about John Titor because this is something that kind of spurred my life to change." And so I started looking into this, and when I looked into it, coming from my kind of background and stuff, and I was like, this is the most amazing hoax I've ever come across. Like, this is absolutely fantastic. And just to be honest, by the time we got done with the film, we brought Scott Norwood on to direct the film and everything, and he was amazing. He's out of Tennessee. But by the time we got done with the film, I can honestly tell you that I have serious doubts that it was a hoax. And not that I'm a full believer or anything, but there's something, I feel that there's definitely something to it, to the whole time traveling and to the John Titor thing. Too many things came about, and I guess you would say we opened up a can of worms when we started interviewing people, and people started contacting us to flat out debunk it as a hoax.
Are you saying, though, that there is some validity to what he's saying? Are you saying that you found credible evidence?
Well, that's exactly what he's saying, Alan.
I think there is some validity to it, and before we started, like I said, I was the first one to say this was an amazing hoax. I thought it was the coolest thing in the world, but by the time we were done, it was just like, well, I don't even know what to say now. Like, this is
what was some of the information that you came across that really convinced you? I mean, Alder, of course, told her, her opinion, and now, tell us what convinced you with this whole John Titor story.
Some of the interviews that we had were just amazing interviews, and the truth is, a lot of the people that we talked to, once we were done with the interview, had a lot more to say off camera. Like, and they're like, now I want to talk to you, like, face to face with the camera off.
Okay, now I got to ask, if I'm sorry for interrupting, but if you're telling me that there are people that were like, yeah, we'll say this on camera, but we're going to tell you something totally different off camera, that lends me to think that there might be some issues there. Well,
we had a phone call with someone that wanted to talk off camera about the validity of time travel, and he was talking about the fact that they were working with aerospace, a plane basically that went faster than any of the planes that they had available.
Was it like light speed travel or warp speed?
Well, he said that it went so fast that it rendered the pilot like immobile, like the actual muscle functions didn't work. But they had actually found one of the muscles, which was the tongue muscle, and he was saying that their helmet that was designed to fly and fire this and actually fire at this speed was completely controlled by the tongue. So the entire thing at this speed was controlled by the tongue. And it was fascinating. And then he was saying it was very interesting. And then he's saying there's another company that he knows of that his friend works at, that they're tracking some pulse engine that's going from the California state area across the U.S. and over to Europe, and it was happening within like an ungodly amount of time. It was like 3 or 6 minutes or something that it would make its way. And so he's like there's technologies out there that you can't even fathom. He's like that people will never see. Anybody that's not government will never see this stuff. And
I believe that.
I believe that.
He goes, if you think time travel isn't possible and that somebody's not working on it or hasn't figured it out already, he goes, you're a fool.
Oh, actually, there's publicly somebody working on it. Ronald Mallet, I believe, is the gentleman's name. He's a scientist, and he's working on a time machine. And Ron Mallet's time machine, it's pretty incredible, the concept that he's come up with. It's more like a portal within time. It's more than just a simple time machine. The way he describes it is he literally will be opening a doorway between now when he opens the time machine, wherever he turns the thing on, It'll open a doorway until infinity in the future. So anytime in the future, whether it be a day, a year, whatever, as long as the machine's on, he'll be able to interact with himself in that time space. So he'll be able to talk to himself in the future.
But what about the past?
He can't go backwards because there's no machine there. So that's why it's a portal more than a time machine. The logistics of it, the way he describes it, is sheer brilliance. I mean, it really is. But to the point that you can only send information back and forth. I don't think you'll ever be able to send a person through this machine. So if you guys want to check out Ronald Mallett's,
check that out.
Yeah, his work is incredible. Ronald Mallett, it's all over YouTube and stuff, and there's even the designs and everything for the time machine. I'm with you, and I know Art's one of his favorite subjects on his old show was time travel. I'm with him on that because I love the subject of time travel, and I think time travel to the future might be possible. Time travel to the past, I still have a little bit of a hard time with, and that's kind of what we're dealing with the John Titor situation. Is he came from 2036 to the past.
Yeah.
And, we were discussing the images and stuff that he posted online back in, 98, 2000, around that time period.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it looked kind of hokey. I mean, some of the images weren't exact. I mean, I was expecting a DeLorean, maybe, with some cool things on it. I don't know. I was expecting something that looked like time travel. But again, what does a time travel machine look like, right? I mean, we all have this concept of what it must look like. A police box.
It's true, though.
Police box. Yep. TARDIS.
Yeah, that's what because that's what Hollywood tells us. So what really could it be? But do you honestly believe then that there is some validity to the whole John Titor story?
I do now. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just think that there's definitely something. Once we did the documentary, so many people came forward with their stories and contacted us. You put yourself out there, like we were on Coast to Coast, and you get a lot of feedback, and there was just some weird things that went on after that. There's people that say that once they made contact with John, that their whole timeline changed, and that's what's interesting about it is all his dates can move. You can't really verify it because you have that whole argument that once there's contact made, there's a ripple effect,
right,
and everything changes. So.
Which is an excellent question. Do you think there might have been a ripple effect from John Titor coming back and spilling whatever information he was giving us?
Yes, I think the timeline is changing all the time. Like every decision that we make, we're changing the probability, and with that, everything changes. We all have our own timelines, I believe. And so whatever we come into contact with changes our timeline.
Well, that kind of goes into a whole multiverse thing, doesn't it? Because the whole multiverse is whatever your decision is will impact whatever universe you're in, I guess, or whatever that your decision is different in every universe, I guess, is the way the multiverse could be explained, right? If there is a mirror image of you on different multiverses. Like, one day you wear a red shirt, one day you wear a green shirt. It's one of those things. Some parts of the United States is being controlled by Russia, and some parts, some worlds out there, it's not. You guys ever seen the show Sliders, by the way, from the 90s?
Oh, that was a great show.
I mean, they explained the multiverse and how that would possibly even be pretty well, I think, on that show. And it's funny because they took a lot of cues from one of my favorite scientists, Michio Kaku, which I'm sure you folks are familiar with, right?
I am.
No?
No.
No? Really? No, never heard of Michio Kaku. Oh, that's a shame. Well, anyway, brilliant scientist. Now, moving on to the other projects you guys, because you guys worked on, because I want to move on from this John Titor thing, because if not, we'll just do a whole show on John Titor. But tell us about the other stuff. You've also done some TV production, correct?
Yeah,
like a pilot or like a TV pilot. Is that what you guys shot, or?
Yeah, we shot a TV pilot, and we are actually still we're pitching it. It's called the Divine Marigolds, and that is it's the best way I could describe it is a family show that kind of kicks back to the Cosby's meets Arrested Development.
Nice.
We wanted to go back to that a good family show that kind of everybody could relate to, because that was the beauty of I felt the beauty of the Cosbys was it had nothing to do with race or anything back then. It was all about the fact that it was just this family that everyone could relate to. And I love it.
But have you seen Arrested Development? Because they're like the complete opposite of the Cosbys.
Yes, I have. But we had to mix in that kind of comedy, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's like night and day, and I'm not even going racial here, but they're two completely different animals.
Oh, they are, and like I said, it's just kind of a mix there because like you got the family, the family, the comedy, but then we brought in some of the comedy stylings of Arrested Development because I mean it's a new, fresh show that was up and popular at the time, and honestly, I really liked their comedy and so we kind of mixed the two, and it's about an Irish family that kind of everybody can relate to, and it was something in the TV pilot that we shot is basically the father and the mother are saddled with their grown children, all of them moving back into the house all at once. So they got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is it 5 kids?
Mm-hmm.
5 kids. Their youngest one is just about to graduate high school. Their oldest one was traveling the world and just decided to plop back into home. And one of their middle daughter has a family of her own. So she has a family and 2 kids, and all of them are living under the same roof again. So you can imagine,
so this is a horror show, is what we're saying. This is terror.
Exactly. So it's very interesting, and all the characters have their own unique character to them, or they're just very funny in their own way. But you can see the interaction, like the way siblings normally are. Because I mean, my brother and I, honestly, if we weren't brothers, we probably would have never been friends or anything. But we're brothers, so it's like that changes everything. And it's that way with the family. It's like they're the polar opposites of each other. They annoy the hell out of each other, but yet at the same time, they're right there to back each other up if they need anything because they're family. Like family kind of comes first, and especially kind of in the time with the economic fun that we're having in the U.S. and stuff, people can kind of get the idea of the problems that some of our citizens are having with the economic struggle and everything, and so I mean you get people having to move back in with family and stuff, or it's everybody's kind of reaching out to help each other survive. So that's what the show's about.
That's cool, man. And you said you're shopping that around. Is any networks interested so far in picking it up? Anybody biting?
We had BBC was looking at it,
nice,
and at the very beginning, but unfortunately we were a little bit late on that. They had just stopped picking up, it was literally a month before they took a look at it. So they had stopped picking up new shows at that time. So
gotcha.
we're wanting to, and that was a while ago. So we're wanting to go back to that.
Shop it to Netflix at this point.
I was going to say that would make a great Netflix series.
And we just got done recutting the trailer too, because back then we had just had a really rough cut when we were showing that. So, or not the trailer, the pilot. So we just recut the pilot. The editor that did it is actually very experienced in editing comedic timing and everything. And so it was hilarious after I had seen it well over a couple hundred times, and when I saw it right after he got done cutting it, I was again rolling and laughing my butt off. I couldn't believe it.
That's incredibly diverse for you two as filmmakers to do something as you did with John Teeter, and then moving on to a comedy, a family comedy. That's very interesting. It's very cool.
Yeah, we're producers, and we have a team that was producing that with us. Lisa Coronado and Will Chase were also part of the team, and so we do lots of things, but all of it speaks to our heart.
Now, what kind of projects are you more near and dear to, though? Or do you look at the paranormal, ufology, exopolitics, time travel, comedy, family-oriented stuff? Like, what's the stuff you like doing the most that's really more near and dear to you?
I would definitely say the more the paranormal effect that has like a spiritual underline to it. That whole shape-shifting or do you shift is a good kind of testimony to that. Alder has just got done writing out a script for her first draft that she's been doing for a feature, and that has a lot of amazing kind of mystery and paranormal, and that'll be filmed in Missouri. I am right now handed over a script to a writer to basically finish up for me because I don't have the time to turn it into a feature. But it's based on the story of a man and a woman that are separated by parallel universes, and they start seeing each other through the dream worlds, and all of a sudden they start awakening to their past lives and realizing that they are technically, like, it doesn't really touch that they're God and Goddess, but it's the story of God and Goddess reincarnating lifetime after lifetime to find each other, and this lifetime.
Wait a minute, to find each other in a parallel universe, though?
Now, this lifetime they just happen to be so far apart because they hadn't found each other in the last two lifetimes that they kept moving farther and farther apart until they're in two completely different universes, and then it's their struggle to pull their universes back together so they can be together.
All right, that sounds fun. Wow. That sounds interesting.
Yeah, that sounds cool. That sounds like a good show for like the Sci-Fi Channel.
I think that might be a good comic book or graphic novel waiting to happen.
Yeah. You two ever thought about doing something like that also for one of your films?
I haven't thought about doing a novel, no, actually.
Good idea.
Well, not a novel, but a graphic novel.
Right.
Graphic novel, yeah.
Which, in nerd talk, that just means a really big comic book.
Or another way to talk about it is it's basically a storyboard before you make the movie.
Right. Yeah. Or that, yeah.
I know Derek, who's probably listening, who is listening, I'm sure our PR guy, he would love that idea.
We're going to have to, pitch it to him, I think, and
yes.
I'll send him an email. I'll remind him. I'll be like, I know you know graphic novels, right? You're just like the rest of us. I know you read them. Here's an idea. I'm sure he'll love it. He's a good guy, that Derek. Now let's move on to the next project you two, like we were talking about here. Do you shift? Let's talk about this real quick because I just saw, like I said, the trailer. I hope everybody who's listening in saw the trailer. We gave out the link earlier on the show. Give us a little backstory on the concept of this movie and shape-shifting in general as you two see it.
Well, we started out, we had the idea for Do You Shift quite a few years ago, 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And like you saw, we do comedies, we do all sorts of films, but this film was actually putting us out there in a way we hadn't been before. Because shapeshifting is a topic that when I mention it to people, they're like, what's that? That's not real. And so we had read a book by John Perkins called Shapeshifting Techniques for Global and Personal Transformation. And that book described how he went to the Amazon and learned how to shapeshift, among a lot of other things. It's an amazing book. But that kind of inspired us. And as we were doing our other films, we always had the shapeshifting film in the back of our mind, and that was the one, our baby. But we had to get brave enough to do it. Just because it was such a different topic. And once we made the commitment to do this film and put ourselves out there in that way, it's just been incredible. All these people have come forward. We've had interviews all over, and we've traveled the world.
Outside of interviews, have you seen actual shape-shifting done in front of you?
Yes.
Yes.
You want to describe?
That was the turning moment.
Tell us about that.
That was the turning moment for me when, like I tell people, that was like where you take your hat off and throw it on the ground and you're going to say, F it, I'm all in. What is this about?
Describe shape-shifting and describe what you saw.
Okay, so this was actually really cool. This was the most amazing thing so far that I've seen in my life. We went to this it was an event where, a very, very private event too, where there's a large amount of people that were kind of keeping this private to themselves because, I mean, they just didn't want it out there. It's not something they want out there. But so it had to do with this this woman that was putting on the ceremony that was channeling the energy of a Celtic goddess. All right. Now, going into it, you're not quite sure what's going to happen. I have no idea what these people are doing, and let's just go and see. We approached the front door of this. There's this a lodge type place, and said, "Hey, can we come in and film this event and this ceremony?" And flat out, no, not a chance, because this is very private to some of these people, and some of these people are pretty well known, and the last thing they want to do is have this out there. And I said, fair enough. And she goes, but you're more than welcome to join us and observe, and then we'll talk afterwards. Okay, so we go in, and they end up there. There's basically a giant circle of people, and like shoulder to shoulder, and she's in the middle, and she's speaking to everybody. Now, this woman had MS, and she was up there in age, and she's walking around talking to everybody and just kind of speaking about the energy of the feminine and everything like that. And she's walking with canes, and pretty soon, like, she's not walking with her canes anymore. And she's starting to stand up straighter and straighter and straighter. And then she starts going into this chant, and she stops in the middle of the room, and she just drops into this amazing, like, trance. And I kid you not, her skin completely, like, tightened up. Like, her face went from this old woman to this woman that looked like she was in her 40s. Like, it was, and the filmmaker part of me is freaking out, saying, how are they doing this? How, this special effect, this is awesome. What's going on here? And, like, it was just incredible.
Where is the CGI being done? That's what I would ask. How is the CGI being done? In front of my face.
You know, it sounds like the movie Lucy that's about to come out.
It was just crazy. And then, to top it off, everybody gets a chance to, one person at a time goes in a circle around her and then gets a blessing out of a leather pouch around her neck. And we go and take our turns and walk around and get the blessing. And when I pulled the blessing out and I looked up into her eyes were like shifting colors. They were like changing colors, like from blue to brown to green, like almost like a swirl effect. And I just at that point, it was hard. It's when your brain kind of, like, all the things that are taught to you and all the concepts of what reality is just kind of shattered at that moment. Because my mind couldn't put together what was exactly happening right then and there. And
now, do we have any of stuff like that, like actual shape-shifting in this movie, by the way?
Yes.
Ooh, interesting. Okay.
And then to top it off, so we talked to her afterwards, and when she came out of the trance, she was back to her normal self. And so we talked to her afterwards, and we went and sat in the car, and we probably sat there for, like 20 minutes? For about 20 minutes, almost just silent, just trying to soak it in to figure out, like all these preconceived concepts of what reality was. It just completely shattered. And so, and Alder goes, "Did you see her eyes?" And I was like, "Oh my God, yes, I did. What was that all about? How was that happening?" Like, and it was just a moment where, like, all reality is questioned. And that's when I was just like, you know what? I want to know what else is out there. If that just happened in front of my face, like, what else is possible?
Wow, that's an incredible story. Now, you said that there's shape-shifting like that in the movie itself. Like, so you were able to capture somebody on video, and they allowed you to capture them shape-shifting?
Yeah, we have a video in particular. There's a couple things, but I can share one of them.
Okay.
There's a woman that we interviewed, and she's pretty private, and she goes back and forth between here and India. And she, after we interviewed her, she gave us tape that she got from a number of students on the same day, where she channels the energy of a goddess, Kali, and she turns blue. She physically turns blue. And we're allowed to use that in the movie. So I got it, and I was just blown away. And she's just really unassuming. She doesn't film a lot of her stuff, and she had, this footage that people have been telling her for a long time that she physically shifts. And so we have that, and then we have another, few minor things that we're going to add, and then we're probably about not even a third through filming. So we're traveling around the world to all these different locations, and we're going to go to Ecuador and visit the Shuar tribe, and they shapeshift into like anacondas, bats, jaguars. And there's been a number of eyewitness accounts.
Did you say bats?
Yeah, bats.
Hold on. People shape-shifting into bats?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I got to ask one question. How big were the bats in this situation?
Nobody said nothing about no bats.
No, I'm trying to understand the mass conversion.
Yeah, this is weird. That's a huge conversion down.
Yeah.
From a human.
Well, there's all sorts of things,
And by the way,
people have shared that they can shapeshift into salamanders.
Well, here's the thing. Even in our own, and I'm going now into a little bit of mythology here, but even like say Dracula's mythology and vampire mythology, there is that that aspect. They do shapeshift from Dracula or a vampire into bats.
We're actually traveling over to Europe and traveling the werewolf belt up to Transylvania,
Romania, Bulgaria.
To look into that as well, because that is something that still happens over there. Here in the U.S., it's very strange because what we've done is been speaking with people overseas and stuff, and from other countries. And here in the U.S., we're very sheltered. It's shape-shifting, shamanistic shape-shifting, healing work with animal energies and stuff. Here it's very Hollywood, right? It's fantasy.
Yep.
Overseas and in other countries, even in other countries that are very modernized, it's still something that happens, and it's still something that's very accepted as the norm. So where is that disconnect between us in the Western culture and the rest of the world? Why is the rest of the world have this understanding or ability or that they don't even question, whereas here it's just like, oh, shapeshifting's awesome. It's like in X-Men.
Well, it's kind of like ufology in a way, the way it's treated here in the U.S. compared to the way the rest of the world treats it, and the whole UFO phenomenon. Over here, it's kind of like, it's a joke, and mainstream treats it as such. But in other parts of the world, it's much more serious of a topic. I'm sure the same thing could be said for vampirism or Dracula lore over in Transylvania. For them, that's there's even a Dracula movie coming out, another one, which they've made so many, but there's a new one coming out with I believe Luke Evans is going to be playing Dracula in this thing. And it looks fantastic, by the way. It really does look good. That's a mythology that never goes away, though. The Dracula mythology. It's interesting, and of course, it's kind of
wait a minute. The Dracula mythology. No, I would say the Dracula comes and goes, but vampirism and in general.
Yeah, but
stays.
For how long now have we been talking about Dracula? Being in films. How many movies have they made over the last 100 years?
Too many.
Exactly. It never goes away. Yeah, it never goes away. And the last few have been really, really bad. I mean, we had the good one with Keanu Reeves and Gary Oldman in the 90s, but there hasn't been many good ones since then. This one looks really good, though, by the way. It's a completely different take on the whole Dracula mythology, but it's interesting to think that there might be some truth to that if you want to correlate the whole shape-shifting into bats from humans. I mean, that's interesting as heck. So you folks are going out there to check out some of that mythology, huh?
Yep.
And today in quantum physics, we're understanding that shapeshifting is possible, that matter can transform between a wave and a particle. And so what does that mean? I mean, could we go back and look at all the old mythologies and say, wait, is there more to this?
Right.
And that's our drive is what's possible. And every single person we interview says in one way or other in the interview, we're more than we think we are. And there's like a whole underground community of people that call themselves shifters. And they're kind of like hidden in a way from the mainstream because they don't want to be exposed. But we don't want to expose anyone per se, but we want to let everyone know that it's possible. And there are people that are willing to talk, so, we want
to... Not only is it possible, but like the normal everyday person is a lot... They're a lot more than what they perceive they are.
Well, yeah, there's that whole we only use 10% of our brain situation. So, and not only that, but reality is ever changing. I mean, we find out different stuff about our own reality within what monthly basis, something new, pops up that we never knew about. So reality is constantly changing and morphing and shape-shifting in many ways. Now, the popular theory on shape-shifting is like what we've seen on Star Trek and stuff like that before, where a being would shape-shift from one object to another, even in an object that is not a living object. Do you think that's possible at all?
I do. I think that I've seen my nephew actually. Well, I've seen him like disappear, and a lot.
Hold on. You seen your nephew disappear?
I've got to tell this to you because this is one of our favorite instances. This also gives you a beautiful look into what children are capable of, because they're at a young age, they haven't been bombarded with the preconceived concepts that everybody is bombarded with as they grow up, right?
All right.
This is reality. This is how things are. This is how you are. This is the only way, right? So
right.
we had talked to them about shape-shifting, and it was right after we had read the book. And we had talked to the kids and everything, and so we had practiced it and everything, just kind of like meditating and talked to them about like kind of feeling the energy of what they want to become and all this stuff. And so in our house, we're playing hide and go seek with, there's like 5 kids down in a completely finished basement, really nice place, and all of us are looking around for Alder's nephew. And we walked into the theater room, which consisted of just a big screen TV on the wall and a couch and some speakers in the corners. And we looked everywhere. We pulled the couch back, put the couch back forward, pulled the cushions off, looked all over the place. There's only a few rooms down in the basement that he could have been in, and he couldn't have come out of that room without going past everybody to go into another room. And we went into that room about 4 times, and then finally went back in there, and we were sitting there, and I turned around, I was looking back out the door, and one of the other little nieces goes, "Oh my God, there he is right there in the corner." And I turned around, and he's sitting there huddled down, just kind of crouched in a ball in the corner. And I go, "Oh my God, Eli, how long have you been there?" And he goes, "I've been here the whole time." And I go, No, you haven't, because we came into this room and we literally tore this room apart looking through this room. You've not been there. Where were you? And he goes, "No, I was here." He says, "I was feeling what it was like to become the rug." And he goes, all my energy I was putting into becoming the rug. And I was like, you kidding me, right? And he's like, "No." He's like, "You told us how to do it."
So you're literally the first person on the planet who was actually playing hide and go seek, and you're not pretending that you don't see the kid in the room, because every other adult that ever plays this game
it wasn't pretending. And it was just
because we're all like, we don't see little Johnny, where could he be? And he's like, "Hey, I'm over here."
The adult in me wanted to be was like, "No, that's not possible." But he was right. We had just talked to him about this and talked to the kids and said, "Hey, look, this is this is very interesting. Shape-shifting is very possible, and it's all about your energy. And so he didn't even question it. And it just kind of dawned. I mean, first of all, I wanted to be like, no, that's impossible. But yet it happened right there in front of me. And I can guarantee you, he was not there when I was in there. There's no way he could have, physically, he was not there anymore.
How much do you think is the fact that it's a kid? And as a lot of people think, kids, are generally more open to sort of this sort of phenomenon or even paranormal phenomenon. Do you think that might play a lot into why he did it so easily?
I think so, exactly. That's in John Titter actually, John Perkins actually talks about his daughter was able to learn shape-shifting a lot easier because she grew up around it. And I think the kids having that how kids will do things that are just crazy because they have no fear because nobody's told them that no, you cannot do that. I think it falls into the same category as kids can do things because they have these abilities because nobody told them that that's not possible.
Right. Yeah, it hasn't been mentally blocked from them yet.
Exactly, and a number of people came forward, on our Facebook, sending posts, really long posts, a multitude of people, telling us stories when they were kids, how they shapeshifted, and that their parents told them it wasn't real, and that they're happy we're putting up the site. And that's interesting to me. I didn't realize this would happen, putting that out there, that people would come forward and they want to share their stories about shapeshifting because a lot of times they spontaneously changed into something as a child, hanging around with their pets or things like that.
Well, that's interesting. So,
yeah.
Now, with a lot of the stories, are any of them coming forward with any proof at all? Did you document anything that you could say, well, look, this is some hard, concrete evidence of this kid who has this ability to either shapeshift or disappear or something that, did any of that make the film at all?
Not yet. As far as those people, we're just developing relationships with people because as the first one where Jeremiah told you the woman, the goddess shifter, they wouldn't let us, and we went in there gung-ho. We came with our cameras, and we hadn't developed a relationship. So really, what we're working on now is just working in relationships with people. And
what you need to do is you need to go to a spy shop and buy some spy cameras and put them on glasses or something or on a shirt and go in there and just don't even tell them, hey, I'm recording you. Just get it on camera. That would convince everybody. Why is it that we don't hear more about this on the mainstream news or even on the news in general or more people talking about shapeshifting if it is if it is a credible thing? Now. This is funny because I do have a question here for you two. This is coming in through the wormhole right here on the Dark Matter Radio Network, and it's coming to us from none other than Nancy Burns. And she wants to know what are your thoughts on David Icke, who's made a career about talking about shape-shifting.
I love watching his videos on YouTube. I think that some of his stuff is more reptilian.
Right.
And I think that is a form of shape-shifting, and I think when people think shape-shifting, especially in that type of media, they go immediately to reptilian. And there's so many different kinds of shape-shifting. Are there reptilians here? I think it's possible, but I don't think that for me. I think that they're on a different. They're living mostly on a different dimension. But
yeah, so you don't think this lady that you guys saw shapeshift, you don't think she's a reptilian shapeshifting?
I don't, no.
Okay.
Energetically, I think that you can feel when a reptilian's around, and I don't think that...
What do you mean by feel that a reptilian's around? I'm sorry, I gotta ask. What do you mean?
Well, so I work with energy and can feel different people's energy, and you can feel, we know our bodies are built with intelligence, and if you really tap into your intuition, you know when there's another type of entity around you. You just know. if you're seeing people walking down the street, there's sometimes I feel that there's other entities here.
Well, I kind of see where you're going at. Like, for example, when somebody walks in the room, you get that, and even if you don't hear them, you still get that vibe, like, somebody's walking into the room. Like, I get that every once in a while. Or like when my dog walks in the house, like even though I don't hear him or see him, I kind of feel his presence. He's walking around the house. So there's a little sensitivity, I guess, to energies in that regard, to when other beings are around. But how do you exactly zone in to reptilians and know that vibe is around? Because I've been dying to meet some reptilians. I really have. So far, no go.
I don't know from personal experience. I just know that I'd know. I know that sounds very strange, but...
Have you seen any shape-shifting reptilians yourself?
No. I don't think they're in my energy field.
Gotcha.
I don't, I think that they come in and out, and some people can see them. That's my belief from what I've heard from other people, but I haven't seen them myself, and I just don't feel that they're capable of coming into my energy field.
Gotcha.
Per se.
Now, are you two looking for somebody who will voluntarily let you record them shape-shifting on camera, or are you looking for those kind of individuals also? Because I'm sure that right there will open Pandora's box for you, and that really would blow this thing out of the water if you get somebody who agrees to it, and it's not CGI or anything like that, folks. Like a real shape-shifting on camera, that would do it, wouldn't it?
Well, the intention of our documentary, is not to expose people. We aren't a newscasting show. Our intention is to actually shapeshift ourselves. So we're shapeshifting our own lives. We're completely transforming our lives, and we have our YouTube videos where we're showing what we're doing to transform our own lives, and we're working on shapeshifting. Our whole team is. And along the way, we'd love to film people that want to be filmed. There's people that have came forward, and we're going to go film them. So, that's just a highlight. But to expose somebody, that's not our intention.
No, I understand that, but I'm not even talking about purposely exposing somebody or putting them out there like that without their permission. Even though I did say wear a camera and just sneak in and record them against their will.
If somebody said called us up tomorrow and said
he said record me, I'm down to do it. That's perfect.
In front of the camera for you, there's no way I wouldn't be there. I'd be camping on the front lawn that night, waiting.
Right. You think.
Because that is just another aspect of shape-shifting that proves this is possible. If this is possible, what else do you think you're capable of becoming?
How far along are you in the shape-shifting tale? The movie doesn't come out to next year, so how far along are you in the production of this thing?
We're about a third of the way through.
Wow.
That's it?
The way through. Yeah.
That's it. There's a lot to cover. And the crazy thing is, that's also why we're kind of putting out the YouTube channel and stuff like that, is by the time we're done, we'll have so much footage and so many interviews, and it'll get cut down into an hour and a half, and if that. And honestly, it'd be nice to put out all the coverage.
Would there be an extended coverage, DVD?
There'll be extended coverage. We'll have on the YouTube channel. We'll be putting out full interviews, so people will actually be able to see the full blown interview with the people that we're talking with, and all sorts of good stuff. Why would you not put that out there?
Right.
These interviews are hands down some of the most fascinating things I've ever experienced, and why not share that with the world?
Now, tell us, I don't want to get too spoiler happy here because I want the audience to see the film, obviously, but did you get any messages from some of these folks that you interviewed, anything pertaining to our future, any particular messages to mankind they want to relay, anything special at all?
No, Alder said in earlier on, it's everybody we've interviewed has at some point in the interview said the exact same thing, and which is kind of starting to become this chiming theme of everybody is more than they think they really are. And that people are needing to awaken to that, to what they are capable of. And like she said, like every interview that we do, at some point that's said in some way or another. And these are people that don't hang out with each other either. These are people that are spread across the Northwest and across the U.S. and everything, and different backgrounds, different. There's Native Americans, Aztec, like.
And they all say that we're in a time right now where things are changing and accelerating rapidly, and that
the quickening, as Art Bell used to call it.
Yeah, exactly. They all say in all different ways, we're in a period of great change. And so we have to loosen our belief system of what's possible and kind of re-examine our beliefs and let them go. Because we need to be open to what else is out there. Because there are people doing all sorts of things. There are people, like you said, that are astral projecting. They're changing their form in the dream world. And then they're able to do that, they start there, and then they're able to do it in the physical world. There are people that bilocate. There are people that remote view. There are people that do all sorts of things. There are people that take on energies of animals. They transfer themselves into animals. They are taking on energy of goddesses. They're taking on elements like fire and being able to wield those. And there's people doing all sorts of things. And so we have to start.
Why don't we hear about this stuff? Why don't we hear more about this, people doing this kind of stuff? Why is it?
Well, I mean, there's all sorts of books about it, and in different cultures. So in India, there's a lot of different saints that are able to do things like bring a smell in the room. They bring a rose smell or perfume in the room. I've actually witnessed a guy from India change forms in front of me into all different. He looked like Moses. He looked like all different people in front of me. He just kept on changing his face. And there's people that are documented all over. It's just, they're all in different cultures. And so we want to capture each culture, all the different things that people have seen.
That's interesting. Speaking of Moses, Christian Bale's playing Moses, and talk about shapeshifting. Man, that guy, he morphs into a character every time he plays a movie. It's incredible. I think he's a shapeshifter, personally. Christian Bale, what do you think?
Definitely.
Okay, so that is something that also is really a really cool aspect of shapeshifting and in our modern culture nowadays. So there was an interview with Jim Carrey.
Another rubber-faced shapeshifter.
Now this was fascinating what he talked about, because he was asked, how did you come up with these characters? For instance, the Ace Ventura character. How did you come up with that character? And he said, well, I was having dinner with Anthony Hopkins before I was filming, and I said, how do you come up with your characters? How do you, these incredible characters that you come up with in your movies, what do you do? And Anthony Hopkins said, well, in the movie, Hannibal, or Silence of the Lambs, he said, I took on the energy of a crocodile, and the way it stalks its prey, moving so quietly, knowing that its prey is already dead, that it's so much superior to its prey, just having that essence of being better and bigger and stronger and more superior to their prey. And he took on that energy for that character. So Jim Carrey took that advice and actually used it in a way of physically shape-shifting. So he said that he took on the energy of a bird, like a macaw, the way he dressed, the bright colors, the way he did his hair, the way he walked, the way he spoke. He said, like, when he walked, his head would bob like a bird's head would bob. He's like, I just totally took on the energy and the essence of a bird for that character. And that's how I came up with that character. So we have people using the concept of shape-shifting in modern everyday life. which is really interesting to me. And then another experience.
Well, I don't know if that's a little bit too literal, though. I mean, I don't think Anthony Hopkins was being literal, like I took the energy literally. I think more like a metaphorical energy, like just so the audience don't get confused and think, man, this Silence of the Lambs is an incredible movie. He actually shapeshifts into it, and they're gonna go rent the movie, and then they're gonna be like, what the hell? It's not exactly what is being pitched on the area. For those who haven't seen it, of course, but he doesn't physically turn into a crocodile, everybody. But I guess you're talking about the essence of the animal, the essence of the beast is what he's tapping into. But that's a different form. That's not really shape-shifting, though. I mean, that's a completely different type of that. That's method acting.
True enough.
Well, there's another form of shape-shifting that what we've found when we've interviewed different people is they take on energy of the animal. So they take on energy of a cheetah when they want to run fast. They take on the energy of a bear to be strong and brave, and a lot of different tribes do this. And so they're actually, I mean, it isn't physical, but it's energy. It's energy work, and you can use all different types of energies to help you throughout your entire day. You can channel in these different energies to transform your life. And what we really found with shape-shifting is it's not about transforming into something else. It's becoming more of yourself, because back to that we're much more than we think we are. We're larger than our physical bodies, so we have the capability of taking on all different types of forms, whether it be physically or energetically. And so it's all of us. We have access to all of it.
Let me ask you a question here. This is going to be a little tricky for me to put in a proper cohesive question. This is the best way I could ask it. Do you believe, either one of you, or both of you can answer this individually, do you believe that we as human beings could shape our realities, and that is what people are tapping into, the ability to shape, not only shapeshift, but shape their realities and the environment around them?
Yes, 100%. And that's exactly kind of a big thing that we're tapping in on this documentary is about shape-shifting your life, shape-shifting your world around you.
Now, the reason that's important, real quick, the reason that's important because a lot of people in ufology, which was the topic we deal with on the show mostly, believe that, and this is not a popular belief, but it is a belief within ufology, that the UFO phenomenon is something that we're manifesting ourselves because we're literally wishing upon a star for aliens to be real, and since we're wishing so hard and we want it so bad to be real, we're manifesting the phenomenon. So it kind of goes with what you guys are saying in a way.
Well, so I think it's with what John Titor said on one of his message boards, but there's a part in our film where he talks about that the UFOs are us in the future. And so all these...
Another very popular theory with UFOs, yeah.
Yeah, these different entities on the different planets, they're all part of us, and they're living simultaneously with us because, time isn't linear. Time's happening all at once. So it makes a lot of sense to me. It's like, oh, of course. Time travel's already happened. Every single thing that you can imagine has already happened.
It's funny. There's a video I was watching a couple of days ago on time itself and on the different dimensions. You guys can look it up on YouTube. It's about the 10th dimension, and they explain each dimension. And there is an explanation for one of the dimensions, a higher dimension. I think it's like dimension probably 10. I don't know. But anyway, where everything it's all cohesive. Like the past, the present, and the future. It almost becomes like a snake within time, where everything is running simultaneously. And this is how they used to explain multiverse and string theory and a bunch of other things, and the parallel universes, and how everything is kind of running cohesively next to each other in a sense. I believe that. I believe time is that way. But how can we possibly detect it? Because in a sense, how is time we detect it because of things that get old and stuff, and that's how we figure. Okay, well this ages, so that must be time passing. I have a little hard time believing though that we're coming back from the future, and trying to like do what exactly? Like study mankind, how they were in the past. I mean, wouldn't we know already the history? Why would we even bother coming back? Unless you're trying to change it, right?
You can actually test it yourself. You can go into meditation and talk to your future self, or you can talk to yourself as a child and watch your life change. Go back to your past. Go sit in an incident, like get into deep meditation and go to an incident in your past and talk to your past self. You can do that. And just test it for yourself. Work out an issue with your past self when you were 5 years old and an incident happened where you got in trouble for something that you didn't do. And
but would I be able to change it, though? That's the thing. I mean, that's the only reason why one would go back in time is to change the past, you know? Like, I don't see any other reason why an entity from, like, say, 1,000,000 years in the future or 200 years in the future or whatever, or even 2036, would have a need to go back in time unless they're trying to rearrange history, which that kind of gets into a little bit of a tricky area itself when you think about it. If you're going back in time to change history, well, what does that mean about the time that you left? I mean, when you go back into your own future, is it going to be the same? Are you going to deviate from the timeline? What exactly happens? I mean, there's a whole Pandora's box right there of time displacement, or as the Doctor would say, wibbly wobbly, timey wimey stuff.
Well, I think we have a lot of.
Well, yeah. If you
go ahead.
No, I was going to say, you know, if you try and talk to your past self and you change your future, or you change that past action, you're not coming back to the same point, are you?
No. That's where it gets tricky.
So through time, you're, you know, in your mind, and have you heard of like past life regressions where you go back and you
change sure.
Yeah. And so yourself right now in the now. All you know is now, and now is expansive. And in the now, if you can deal with things that happened in your past and let go of them, they change your present time. And so same thing in the future. You could project yourself into your future. And that's it. All it is doing is making your now better.
Now, let's say that I do try to talk to myself in the future. I mean, how much of that could be attributed to me really talking to myself in the future or the past? Honestly, I wouldn't want to even admit to it if I were to succeed and doing something like that, because people would just want to put me in a straitjacket. I mean, that would be completely off rockers if I come on air and say, you know, I did it and I talked to myself in the past and something changed. I think people would think of me as kind of loony. Do you think that's why people don't come forward who might have an ability to do stuff like that?
I think that's why in the recent past people haven't come forward, but now we're actually seeing like this incredible wave, and a lot of people do say it's like the new age wave or whatever, but it's this incredible wave of people that are discovering things and capabilities and ways of living that never had been even thought about. I mean, personally, for me, back in the 80s and 90s and stuff, looking at the spiritual revolution that is happening now, like, I would have never even fathomed this. But people are, like, almost all our interviews, sorry for that, most of all our interviews have said that this time that we're living in is an incredible time to be alive, because we're witnessing the next revolution, the next evolution in mankind as far as spiritual awareness and awakening. And it's one thing that the whole Mayan the whole Mayan calendar and everything, all that was kind of touching on is it's a whole nother section of existence in human history.
Well, that's kind of debatable, because the Mayan calendar really was just saying it's at the entrance of the next age, or it's a cyclical thing. It wasn't the end of anything. It was just commencement of the next age, which I guess would be the age of Aquarius is where they're heading. That's where we're heading to. Yeah.
It is the next age. It's the next age, just like we've gone through these amazing technological advances throughout history, where it was the Iron Age and
right.
Technology age, and all of a sudden this is the next age that's happening. and people's awareness and kind of in being in tune with their bodies and with their minds and stuff is catching up with the technology that kind of surpassed them for 100 years there. We really jumped forward fast, I think, with technology, which was awesome. But now human consciousness, I think, is catching up with that as
Our
well.
body's the ultimate tool. We have capabilities that computers could only fathom. We haven't accessed it yet, though.
It's funny. I was watching a movie earlier tonight called Transcendence. Have you two seen this movie yet?
Oh.
Transcendence?
Yes, it's with Johnny Depp. Excellent movie, and it deals with a subject that, again, that is near and dear to Art Bell's heart, and something that they talked about on his show back in the day, about switching the consciousness from the human body into a computer, and how one day in the very near future we'll be able to do just that, where our human body dies and we wake up and we're in a computer. And we're running a program, and it's literally us. But the whole concept of the movie, why I thought it was so brilliant, mind you, this movie tanked horribly, and a lot of people hated it, but I just saw it, and it was really a brilliant concept. The deep, philosophical question that it asks is the soul real? What is the soul? If we could actually, transcend into a computer, then does that mean there is a soul? Is this computer the real person? Is it just a copy or carbon copy? It asks so many different deep questions, which this is the problem with movies like that. It makes you think, and that's why people didn't go see it, because nobody wants to think anymore. People are just kind of brain dead. But I highly recommend that movie, Transcendence. Listen, we're almost out of time. I'd love to have you two back on in the near future when you have a little bit more with the movie done, so we can promote it a little bit more. I definitely want to check out the film once it's finished. Sounds very, very interesting. I love the subject of shape-shifting. I'd love to also love the time travel stuff you guys did. I really want to look at that film about John Tudor and really dissect that. So please come back on the show in the future, and hopefully we'll have some folks call you and ask you a bunch of questions and interrogate you from the very beginning. So usually that's when the best calls are in the very beginning. So next time when you come back, we'll have open lines the entire show. Now for everybody listening in, I want them to know the website. So please give them all your URL and anywhere they can track the movie down. Obviously, we gave the YouTube account earlier, but please give that out again and your websites and all that stuff so everybody can follow you and follow the film.
You can find Shapeshifting or Do You Shift on Facebook at Do You Shift, the Shapeshifting documentary. You can also find us on shapeshiftingfilm.com, and you can find it on youtube.com, Do You Shift. / Do You Shift.
Very cool. Thank you both for being on here, man. Like I said, I really want to have you two back on. I think this is a very interesting movie, and I'm dying to see what you guys do.
Yeah, it was a great conversation, too.
Again, it'll be out next year in midsummer, right? That's when we were looking at a release date for this thing?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for having us. It's fun to talk about all this with you guys.
I love it.
I know it a lot. Love it.
It's been a blast. And again, you guys can check out the podcast later on tonight. It'll be available on skywatchersradio.com. Again, thank you so much for being here on Skywatchers with us. Really do appreciate your time.
It was fun. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a great night, Jeremiah and Alder. Right?
You too.
You too.
Yeah, he got it right this time, I think.
Woohoo! I think so.
Hey.
That's what Data thinks, anyway. Good night, folks.
Good night.
Guys, that was fun.
No, I enjoyed it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not sold on shape-shifting until I see it, but that's like, I'm like that with a lot of
I want to
things.
see someone turn blue without the effects of a special blue light or something.
That's what I'm going with here. I want to see it. Well, I don't know about blue, because, blue could signify maybe they're about to die. They're blue in the face.
They were done. Yeah, they were pointing out that, the guy turned blue, and I'm like, okay, show me, and, I'll go along with it.
The thing with the eyes, that was kind of trippy. I'd love to see somebody have that ability. We did get a couple of messages here, and during the show, which were pretty funny. One of them said, "Were they intoxicated with DMT?" I was going to ask, but I don't want to be rude, on air, because that's not cool. But anyway, guys, it's been a blast having them on, and hopefully they do come back on, and they share, more info on the movie. Check out the movie, Do You Shift? It's all over the internet, and, it's not all over the internet yet, but the trailer is, so you can check that out. Again, skywatchersradio.com. The podcast will be there soon, but stay tuned to Dark Matter Radio Network. They're going to replay it here in a couple hours. I'm sure Keith is already doing the technical stuff to get it on air.
I believe he
soon,
is, yes. I believe he is.
He is the Overlord and the Dark Lord of Dark Matter Radio Network. And a really cool guy also. Don't believe the hype. Everybody out there listening in who might have heard some crazy stuff in the last few days. He's a really, really cool guy. So shout outs to Keith Rowland and the rest of the Dark Matter Radio Network staff. Guys, this is Skywatchers Radio. We're going to come back next week. Same Skywatcher time, same Skywatcher channel, which is the Dark Matter Radio Network and PSN Radio. So stick around for more stuff here and come back next week for more stuff. And tomorrow night, the Rich Giordano Show. Check him out. Really cool show.
Very good.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, all.
Peace. Stay safe and stay classy, San Diego.